Hello everyone. Today we will be preparing hunter's beef together. Vadász is a hunter's dish traditionally made before the 19th century from game animals hunted during hunts, such as rabbit, wild boar, deer, and pheasant. In the 19th century, due to the spread of cattle and the decline in hunting, this dish began to be made with beef. The soul of Vadász lies in its accompanying sauce. There are many ways to prepare it, but all start with carrots, celery, and parsnips. Sour cream and some tangy ingredient like lemon or vinegar are also essential. Carrots are sweet vegetables, so it's important to add some sour flavor to the delicious sauce. If you're subscribed, we can start cooking now.
Hi everyone. Today, as you know, we're going to make vadas marha. Let me tell you the ingredients. Bay leaf, lemon, onion, parsnip, carrot, sugar, salt, pepper, mustard, flour, sour cream, and of course, the beef. I'm going to use beef round this time, but really, you can use any type of beef. Some people swear by using a slightly fattier, more sinewy cut, like the neck, for example. Others use tenderloin or sirloin, or even Stephania, though honestly, I'm not sure which part of the cow that is in English. I've started slicing the beef into relatively thin pieces, because I'm going to sear them quickly. That means I'll basically cook each side for about a minute. It doesn't need to be cooked through. I'm just doing this so the inside of the meat can stay more tender. I've sliced the meat. Now it's time for the carrots. In fact, the yellow carrot is practically the most important ingredient in this dish, since this is a carrot sauce, a carrot gravy. I usually cut it into rounds, but you can cut it any way you like, since we're going to cook it and then blend it with an immersion blender. After the yellow carrot comes the white carrot, which is also a very important ingredient. This will also give it a really delicious flavor, but we add less of this than of the yellow carrot. Once we're done with that, we continue with the onion. I'll peel it and then chop it up. I'm not going to worry about dicing it too finely either, since it'll all be blended with the immersion blender at the end, so we can be lazy cooks without any problem. After chopping the onion, we take some really nice smoked bacon. Now, it doesn't have to be the kind with a lot of meat. When I'm abroad, I mostly come across the classic bacon, which is that thin, meaty type. This is a smoked bacon, a fatty bacon that's been well smoked, and I'm going to cut about 200 grams of it into cubes. And the onions will be sautéed in its fat, which makes it much tastier than if you were to fry the onions in oil. But of course, if you don't add bacon, it'll still turn out perfectly fine with oil. Here too, you don't need to worry about cutting the bacon into tiny cubes, because the fat will render out anyway, so we can keep being lazy cooks without any problem. The next step is to take a large pot, heat it up well, and then put the bacon into the hot pan so that the fat renders out quickly. As you can see, the bacon is starting to render its fat, and when it reaches the consistency you see now, you can take it out and put it in a small bowl. If you let it cool, make sure to taste it. It will be incredibly delicious. If not, you can add it back into the dish at the end, and it will still be really tasty. In this delicious, salty bacon fat, we start to quickly sear the meat. They don't need to be cooked through, and you don't need to fry them for long. About 1 minute per side is enough. This is important so the meat stays juicy inside, and when we cook it later, we'll end up with nice, tender beef at the end. Once they've browned a little, I set them aside in a bowl. The juices and fat that the meat releases will be very useful later. Keep doing this until you've finished with all the meat. You can see here all the meat that I've seared. Now, all that's left to do is add the onions we chopped earlier into this delicious meat and fat, and let them cook a bit. You don't need to brown them too much, but let the onions soften and cook just a little. You can see how nicely the onions have released their water and started to cook. Now all we have to do is add the carrots we chopped earlier. I always give them a quick stir in this fat and let them cook for a few minutes in it. And then, when I add the meat as well, I always transfer everything into a nice big pot. It wasn't in a small one before either, but this dish really needs space. At this point, I take the half-cooked meat and pour it all back into the big pot, and it's very important to add the juices that have come out of the meat at the bottom as well, because they'll give our dish an incredibly good flavor in the end. I add bay leaves and start seasoning it. Basically, I'll add salt and pepper, and then pour in enough water to cover the whole dish. I think you'll see this for yourselves. It's hard to say exactly how much water to use. Check your own pot, or watch what I'm cooking, and you'll see how much water is needed to cover it. Now's the moment when we need to pour water over the whole thing. You need to add water, since this is a saucy dish, but don't forget, it's not a soup, so you don't need to fill the pot all the way up with water. I usually say that about 1 to 2 centimeters of water should cover the food, and that's when it turns out really well. I also added a bit more salt. You need to taste it to make sure the broth is salty enough. Once you've added the water, there's nothing else to do except cook it for 1 or 2 hours. It's hard to say exactly how many minutes that is, but you'll know when the meat is tender, soft as butter. As you can see, this is how my dish looks right now. I definitely need to add a bit more water, because this won't be enough. But the kitchen already smells absolutely amazing. That fresh scent of bay leaves and carrots, I really love the aroma of this dish. I've been cooking my dish for about an hour now. The meat is starting to get tender, but it's not done yet. This is when I usually add the mustard, and I'll cook it for about another hour. The mustard is what's going to give it a really tangy flavor. In the meantime, my dish is ready, so I'm taking the meat out. But I'm not just removing the meat, I'm also taking out the bay leaves, because it wouldn't taste as good if I blended the bay leaves with the immersion blender. At this point, you have to start fishing them out of the dish one by one. Great fun! So now, as you can see, I've taken the meat and the bay leaves out of my dish, and now I'm going to add a bit of lemon juice, and if needed, a little mustard and some more salt, and soon I'll be able to start blending with the immersion blender. In goes the lemon. I squeezed the juice of one lemon and I'm adding that. This really depends on personal preference, how you like it. But be careful here, because the liquid is extremely hot, and if you're not using a tall enough pot, it can splash up and you could easily burn yourself. So this is what the dish looks like after blending. It's already delicious, but we still have to do the habras. I honestly have no idea how to say habras in English, but I'll try to explain or show you. Here you need to take some sour cream. This is 450 grams of sour cream. Mix it with flour, then combine it with some of the liquid from the dish, and pour that mixture back into the pot. This is what habras is. If you know the English name for it, please let me know in the comments, because I've realized I don't know every kitchen term in English. You don't need a lot of flour, just about 2 to 3 tablespoons, because you don't want the dish to taste like flour. Now I'm adding about 2 deciliters of water, and then I'll add around 1 deciliter of the sauce from the dish as well. I'll mix that together really well, you'll see it in a moment, and then I'll pour it back into the pot and mix it with the dish. I'm pouring the finished sauce into the dish, and it's important to add whatever's left at the bottom of the pot as well. Just in my case, I had the camera in my other hand, so I couldn't do that right now. Mix it all together, and all you have to do now is put the meat slices back into the sauce. If needed, you can add a bit more salt, lemon, or mustard, whatever tastes good to you. And now we should start making the side dish for it. You can eat this with dumplings, bread dumplings, or pasta. I'm going to cook some pasta to go with it now. Everyone knows how to do that, but I'll quickly put a big pot of water on to boil, then cook some delicious pasta for it, and it will turn into an incredibly tasty meal. I would be incredibly happy if you tried and cooked this recipe too. I think you're going to like it. If you cook it, please send me a picture. Write anything in the comments, whether you liked it or not. So, this is what the final result looks like. It's incredibly delicious, and you can put much more sauce on it if you want. Please subscribe to the channel, support me with that, and we'll see each other in the next video. Bye. Oh, I almost forgot. Stay tuned. The recipe is coming up. Bye.